Green, Alderwoman Spencer,
Present.
Alderman Gunther,
Here.
Alderwoman Martin, Alderwoman Navarro,
Here.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Present.
Alderwoman Rice,
Present.
Chairman Ornowitz.
Present. Seeing that we have a quorum, we have before us today Board Bill number 140, introduced by Alderwoman Kara Spencer. Alderwoman, if you want to take the hot seat and kind of explain what this bill does or doesn't do, and at the end, we'll leave it up to you if you want to vote on it today or just do it for informational.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my fellow members of the Health and Human Services Committee. What we have before us, Board Bill 140, is a board bill which simply adds language into the ordinance. Excuse me. What it does is it provides essentially an exemption to the business license fee. The exemption being applicable to Missouri farmers that sell their grown produce in Missouri, in St. Louis City farmers markets. How this was born really was, the farmers markets in the city of St. Louis have done very, very well. They've become very popular. They're not only selling healthy produce, but they're a gathering place, and they're a place for, building community. The Tower Grove Farmers Market here has done exceptionally, really very well, and they've opened up a second location right across the St. Louis County line in Brentwood. And in that process, they realized that the process of vending in the city of St. Louis is pretty different than the process of vending in St. Louis County. Starting with the business license that you have to get in the city, and also with the permitting process to give out samples. So what we try to do is work with the health department and address these things without having to do an ordinance. The health department has been very amenable to taking a look at the permitting process that the county offers. Right now, for example, you have to get a permit for each weekend you want to maybe hand out samples, where in St. Louis County you can get one for the year. So we're going to mimic that here, but this is an outstanding issue, getting the requirement of a business license for small scale local farmers, which they don't have to get in St. Louis County. And what we don't want to have is a situation where farmers are opting to vend in farmers markets in St. Louis County and not in the city because of these little differences that can add up to a small farmer, but maybe not make a big difference for the city's bottom line. They do generate a lot of a lot of sales, and they provide a value to our communities by just selling their locally grown produce. There's no better produce than produce that was grown very locally and organically, so it's good. So with that, it should be a small change at the bottom line. I have with me today Chris Gedden from Farmers Market at Tower Grove, and we've reached out to the license collector's office. I just spoke with JP quickly from the license collector's office, who mentioned that the license collector did not really have a problem with the bill, but maybe you could speak to that if you were wanting to speak to it. There's been no. Does the license collector's office have any estimation on what it would cost the city?
I don't speak to the license collector.
Okay, I haven't heard back from the license collector's office on the issue directly, but with that, that's pretty much what I have. I'll take questions, and maybe I would offer to have Chris Gedden from the farmers market speak on the issue.
Chris, would
Okay.
you like to come up and have a seat?
You could take my hot seat.
Sure.
Mike,
I'm just gonna make stuff up.
do it.
I'm just gonna make stuff up.
Okay. Don't tell me.
So Chris, if you just want to enlighten us on what you know and through the market.
Well, I just know that a lot of our farmers, you're not just gonna go buy some granola that you've never tasted, you don't,
Right.
your friends haven't tasted it. So being able to sample, which is a large part of this, is a huge opportunity for you to try something. Oh, I like it. Now I can purchase this, which then helps the farmers market. I do know that a lot of the farmers are like, well, I think it's 14. They can do it 14 times at 50
If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, this bill only pertains to the business
Okay,
license.
okay.
The health department is able to address
That other one?
that other issue through just a policy change, which
Okay.
they are very amenable to doing, and they are working on doing that. So
Okay.
the sampling, while it goes alongside of this, and we're doing that exactly to address
So we're
that.
just speaking to the business license?
This would just be the
Okay.
business license
All right.
point. I just
All right.
mentioning that just so because that is another issue that farmers are having.
It just becomes too financially cumbersome. And if you can go here and not pay and sell, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? I mean,
I agree with what you're saying. Alderwoman, would you sit back down?
Oh, sure.
Please, yeah. So basically, I guess what we're saying here is out in St. Louis County, they don't get charged a license for selling their,
That's right.
and the city, they probably pay flat business license every year.
They
I'm
do,
thinking.
and these are little local farmers that aren't selling year-round and every day in the city. They're not acting like a normal business where they're kind of just being, operating a shop. They're just coming on the weekends for a finite amount of time during the year. The vast majority of their business is usually outside the city on farmland. So their business is operating for the most part outside the city. They do come in a couple, for weekends during the year to vend their squash and other things that they're growing. But, they don't have a year-round business in the city.
So then okay, so like Soulard Market,
So Soulard Market only has a few local farmers. A lot of what's vending at Soulard Market is, they are produce.
right.
Middlemen, that's right, middle people, and so they, they are not growing the produce. And this is not to provide an exemption for everybody. This is just to provide an exemption for Missouri farmers from the business license. And under state statute, Missouri farmers, local Missouri farmers do enjoy some exemptions under state law, just to promote that small scale farming in our state. And this is not gonna apply to, the big guys growing for, big corporations. These are small scale farmers that are vending directly to their consumer at the end of the day, maybe they tomatoes, and it's a very small number of businesses that operate.
Okay,
But they
so,
provide a very high value quality product, and Tower Grove Market offers. Do all of your farmers offer? One of the questions I received this morning was about EBT and points and that sort of thing. And
so yeah, so the farmer's market, I think we've been doing it for about 2 or 3 years now. Every farmer is required to take EBT. We handle it at the front, but you can buy anything that is under we actually do the double up bucks as well. So, it's a huge service.
okay, well, that clears up a lot, so I understand, so we're not exempting everybody from it per se, it's just the local farmers that come in and.
only the small scale
Right.
farmers that produce products that are
Right.
vendable directly to consumers.
Okay, thank you. I'll go around the table here and if there's any questions and, Alderman Gunther?
I think this is a great idea. I will just mention, so it's not really defined in here what you're considering like small scale. So like, for instance, like I think of, because I go to Soulard Market all the time, that there's a Shark Farm, which is relatively large, but they're
yeah.
still a farmer in Illinois, but they vend every week at Soulard. Would they still be exempt? Because, they are kind of a larger scale farm, but it's still locally grown produce being brought to St. Louis Market, so would that be?
Yes, so it has to be, so that, they're larger, but they're
Yeah.
pretty small compared to industrial farmers,
Yeah,
right? And so,
right.
but it's any
Okay.
you have to be an individual that cultivates the crops themselves. And so
Okay.
in that case, I think
They would be covered, okay.
yeah, but, it wouldn't apply to the majority of vendors at Soulard because they're just that middleman. They're not growing that produce.
Right.
They're getting it on
Okay.
produce row.
Yeah, I think this is great.
Okay. Alderwoman Navarro.
Thank you. I think this is wonderful. I think there are a lot of really good efforts going on in the city to help build up local food systems. And so the more that we can address these barriers and these challenges, the more success we're going to have in scaling this up and making this food more affordable and accessible for everybody in the community. So thank you for doing this. The one question I just want to ask, in terms of so it talks about the agricultural products and products produced therefrom. Can you just describe what that would encompass?
So it's my understanding that that would just be, you have to be a farmer, okay, and it applies to farmers who sell those things that they grow. And products produced therefrom would, the way I understand it, the way that the spirit in which this was written would be something, a value-added product produced from farmer-grown produce. So you can't, if you're selling Heinz ketchup, that does not, even though it's made from tomatoes, does not apply. But if you grow the tomatoes and make your own ketchup and sell it, which I don't recommend because I really do like that mass-produced Heinz ketchup, but as a personal preference. But if you do that, then that would be the value-added product.
Okay,
So.
great. Yeah, just thank you for
Yeah,
clarifying.
and
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
That's all that I have.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
I have no questions or comments.
Alderwoman Rice.
So I think, yeah, I think just making sure that we're defining the terms, it was my biggest question, because it doesn't say anything about small in here, like the word small is not in there. And I think the piece that ties it back to say, sold directly to consumers at farmers markets, I don't think that actually would exempt someone from a corporate farm from coming in and saying, but we're giving it directly to you, right? If they've got leftover produce in the field, that kind of thing, to bring it out and say, we want to do this at the farmer's market.
they could actually, I
Okay.
guess, in that, but I don't think that actually happens. So
Sure.
I think the word small is tough to use in a legal sense. So
Exactly. It's hard to define that.
it's
Yes.
hard to define, right, exactly,
Right.
and how would you define that? But by virtue of how this is defined as a farmer, an individual who cultivates the land and sells directly,
Okay.
just by nature of those two actions those just applying to the small scale
Sure.
farmer.
Okay, and this would not apply, so at the Tower Grove Market, we've got other vendors selling other types of things. So, linens and shoes and that kind of thing, that does not apply. So this is not just anything at the farmer's market.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
farmer-grown, farmer-produced materials from
Yep.
things.
Yeah, it's not a garage sale.
Yeah.
Not
We're not trying to
flea market,
overly
right.
exempt, but,
Yeah.
just should,
Okay.
yeah.
Sure. Okay, I think, so I guess one other question on that, would this apply if a food truck was growing its own food? Would this apply, could this apply there as well?
This doesn't mandate or specify how you're vending.
Okay,
But it does state that it is at a farmer's market. So, in that case, yes.
Okay.
If they were vending it out of a truck or at a stand, either
Sure.
way, so long as it's being grown by the person
Okay.
vending it.
okay. All right, I think this is great. I think encouraging that growth is good. I know that the Tower Grove Farmers Market, we're continuing to grow and outgrow those things. And hopefully this will help spur similar efforts around the city. I think there are lots of public spaces that would be great to have
Mhm.
farmers vending at and directly selling to the community. So
Mhm.
thank you.
Okay, Alderwoman Green.
Don't think I have any questions. Annie asked what I was
No.
planning on asking. or
You sent her
Alderwoman
an
Rice.
email already.
Yes. So that is covered, but thank you for doing this. I know that this matters a lot to a lot of the folks at the Tower Grove Farmers Market, so we appreciate it. And I'd like to be added as a
great.
co-sponsor. So.
Yeah, we originally thought we were just gonna be able to get this done through policy changes, but realized that we needed an ordinance. I wanna also mention and commend the license collector's office, who, when we were dealing with some of these issues last year, giving local growers, if you grow on site and sell on site, we worked with that office to make sure that they got an exemption from those business licenses if you sell on site if you're a, local grower in your backyard or on a community garden. So this is just kind of a little bit of an extension of that situation, so, in a way.
I guess I did have one more question. If it's, do we need to attach a
fiscal note?
note because we don't know how this will affect revenues from the license collector's office?
It's a question.
No.
No, because we're not expending any money.
To Alderman Rice's point, this could potentially reduce revenue for the city by a non-negligible amount. I could, again, request some information from the license collector's office on that.
But you do not require, it does not require a fiscal note because the city is not actually spending any money.
Okay.
I will, in good faith, attempt to get what this, how many farmers are currently, Missouri local farmers are currently obtaining a business license and what that might look like.
Okay. Yeah.
And,
Can I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
So does this only apply to Missouri farmers?
I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
it is, doesn't
Okay.
specify
So
that
any,
there was a-
any farmer?
Anybody who is
Okay.
a farmer, yes.
Okay.
But most, there are some Illinois farmers, yeah, you're right.
Illinois
But it's
Yeah.
it's not really outside of Missouri and Illinois who are
Right.
growing and then coming
Right.
all the way to St. Louis to sell.
Not
Our,
very-
our definition of local is 150 miles or less, so.
Oh, that's what the market uses for local.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So,
Could I also add my name as a co-sponsor?
And Alderwoman, do you want to first follow up with the license collector about the revenue or,
I think given the fact that she's not opposed to it at this time, I think it's a small amount, but I will today follow up with her and see if we can get that amount before it goes to the full board floor. Recognizing that, if this was a major blow to the
Right.
license collector's revenue, that she would be here maybe speaking against it.
okay.
Or at least making us aware of that.
Okay, so if there's not any other questions or follow-ups, I'll entertain a motion on Board Bill number 140 with a,
I move that we pass Board Bill 140 with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded for pass this Board Bill out of committee. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderwoman Green,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Aye.
Alderman Gunther,
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin, Alderwoman Navarro,
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice,
Aye.
Chairman Arnowitz.
Aye.
7 aye votes.
All right.
Thank you. We passed Board Bill number 140 out of committee.
I'll just, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I'll just say thank you because, I think it's important that when we recognize differences between the city and county, doing business in the city should not be in any way, shape, or form more difficult than doing business in the county. It's really important that we try to address these little differences so that we can grow our local economy here and make sure that for our small business owners, that this is a place that they can succeed and flourish and they don't all exodus out to just across that imaginary border line, which makes up the city-county border. So, thank you for that.
I agree. Thank you. Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
I guess meeting adjourned. We're adjourned.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Add me as a co-sponsor.